Tobin and Leroy here with you. 560 WQAM. Let's get to our headlines. Brought to you by Doral Hyundai. Doral Hyundai, choose from over 1,300 new Hyundai miles in inventory of the Tucson, Sonata, and Palisade. And remember, when it comes to Hyundai, the great deals are at Doral Hyundai.
I did a little research.
Oh, do tell, Leroy. What do you have for us?
And I want to explain to everybody how the draft works.
Okay.
So originally there was going to be maybe 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round.
Yep.
Instead, there were 2.
Yep.
There was supposed to be a lot of corners and wide receivers taken in the draft. There was a few. There was 16 offense or defensive linemen taken.
Seems like everybody watched the Super Bowl.
Right. But that's my point. And so I don't understand how these draftniks can say, oh, they reached for this guy when there were 16 guys on the offense and defensive line that went in the first round, and maybe only half of them were graded as first-round picks. That's the nature of the draft.
The only thing that, like, if the Dolphins would have done the crazy thing, like you said, if they would have drafted Warren, it would have been like, that would have been such a we don't mean anything we say. Like,
Right.
Look, Tyler, it would have been fun. Sure, it would have been fun, but like, you have this unicorn tight end, and you no longer have to deal with Julian Hill, rear naked chokes on penalties and whatnot. But that's not moving in any direction. Like, this is legitimately helping you with something you need, and let's all right, we're acting like grown-ups. I don't necessarily love it, because I'm a bit of a man who likes fireworks and fun, but I'm trying to be reasonable. I'm trying to grow.
Look, it's not a secret if you look at all the teams that have had success. A lot of people made fun of Dan Campbell, talking about changing the culture and how you're going to play and how we're going to go about playing football and how we're going to build a football team. But if you look at Detroit now, with all the injuries they had, the one thing that stood true, the culture and how they were going to play football. Okay? A lot of these teams, including the Dolphins, put themselves in a situation where if a couple of guys get hurt, you don't have the culture to withstand it. You need the talent to win, not the culture.
Schmeathen's trying to reason with you. He says, Leroy, it has nothing to do with questioning the pick.
Yeah.
Questioning the guy who's making the pick. He's earned it.
Yes. And here's what I would say. Sometimes when you have a problem with somebody, this isn't if you have somebody at work you don't like, if you have somebody, a neighbor you don't like, and they do something good or right, it's hard to acknowledge that because how you feel about them. So I get that. But we need to look at this from the standpoint of the team, right? And I think without a doubt, everybody can come to this conclusion that when you went to bed last night after the first round, the Miami Dolphins got better.
I agree with that.
And so let's start there. Got a lot of picks left.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, look at the draft from the standpoint of how the draft is going, not necessarily who you want. Because the way the first round went, you ended up drafting somebody that maybe was on your peripheral, but because so many offense and defensive linemen went, you thought this, and this is what they're thinking. I better get one of these dudes now. They're not going to be available in the second round. And if I wait, then I'm going to end up with guys who don't make the team better.
Do with it what you will, but Chris Grier did say in the press conference yesterday that 3 teams texted him right after they made the pick and said that was our top guy. That's who.
Yeah.
So he wasn't going to get out of he wasn't getting out of probably the top 20.
The problem is he would have probably ended up with the Bills.
Oh God. This is Chris Grier yesterday on why they took Kenneth Grant over a cornerback or lineman. Here's what he had to say.
For us, D tackle is a big need, a big nose tackle, obviously. But we don't view him as just a run stopper. We do think he has the ability to generate, and you've heard us talk with the pass rush. It's not always about sacks. The ability to push the pocket in the middle is a huge thing in the NFL now. And we think he has tremendous work ethic and upside to do that.
Stop the tape.
Marcos, with your left hand, I want you to hit a very sharp -1.
Oh, boy.
-1.
For lying. You just got rid of a guy because you said his sack numbers weren't good.
For deception.
Yeah.
He did that yesterday, too, where he goes, in corners, you could find him anywhere. It's like, oh, yeah, how come you took 2 of them so high recently?
Right. So
guy just says anything. He really does.
I like
it's no wonder he's kept his job so long.
Why doesn't he just take the win?
I don't know.
Fraud with good
Right?
accent.
Like, here's the thing. When you feel that you've done the right thing, you don't have to go on a mission to try to prove that you did the right thing. Right? So you drafted the guy you wanted. I respect that. We all can see that it filled the need. You can say that. You can do that. But why you got to add the other thing that, 3 other teams wanted him too?
Who
cares?
Can't trust a Blazer baseball cap guy.
Wait, you know who else does that? Woody Johnson.
Oh, he does. He does. You're not wrong.
That's the first one that came to mind.
I will say, Stephen Ross, legit, like they put out the video yesterday from the draft room. He was super happy they took a Michigan guy. Like it was like and good for him. Whatever. Like, you know what? It is one of those things. He hasn't got to take one. I think the last guy's Jake Long. He wasn't the owner yet. They got the fight song playing. Him and Garfinkel.
Yeah.
What do you guys? You do your Go Blue thing? And they were goosies galore.
Yeah.
Also, Zach Sealer, Michigan man, not like from the school, but
Western
the state.
Michigan.
And this is what Mike McDaniel said. Zach Sealer texted him after they made the selection.
Happy things. And he also said, I thought he was just trying to suck up to the University of Michigan, but he said that he's heard that Michigan guys are hard workers, which he's from Michigan. So, I just kept it moving. I said, hopefully he'll be more of a strainer than you are. Because as we know, we're not worried about Zach straining, but he still gets upset if you question it.
Say straining? Shut up, Mike.
Look, why can't we just celebrate the pick and move on? Right?
Hopefully,
So
always got a funny joke to say.
I would say Zach Sealer has to be happy because it leaves him on an island with single coverage.
Oh, yeah.
You can't double both those guys because then those outside guys got to get sacks. And so that's the dilemma. Now, what I would say is this. Now that you've done that, okay, I know people don't want to hear this. But this is more important. Linebackers, safeties. Okay? You protect the middle of the field first. So
you want to do defense again next?
It depends
it depends how it lines up.
Right.
Depends how it lines up,
and
obviously.
That's been my whole point with the draft. It depends on how everything lines up. Because there's certain things you don't have control over the other 31 teams. Right? Just like you didn't have control over the top 12. But when it gets to you and you haven't moved then you have to make a decision on two things: the best available, and will they be available when I pick again? That position. And the way the draft was going, absolutely not. If you wouldn't have got a D tackle or a D lineman or an offensive lineman at that pick, then you're drafting corners and wide receivers and linebackers for the rest of the draft, and everybody's really going to be pissed.
Let's hear from Kenneth Grant. This was him speaking to the media. Kenny G on the Dolphins picking him.
Yeah, it's really important because, I mean, it starts up front. Everything starts up front. So, I mean, if you can't get things up front going, then it's going to be a long day. But, you know, I think this addition to the Miami Dolphins and me and myself, you know, is going to be a one for the books.
Well, I like that.
One for the books.
I like that.
I do like it. I do.
What?
I do.
What?
But did you hear the response by the guard selected just one pick above the Dolphins? I believe
Booker?
Booker,
Yeah,
he went to
yeah.
the Cowboys.
Uh-huh.
You hear his response to Michael Parsons?
No, what'd he say?
They asked him why he loved football, and he says that a lot of these guys, they drink their pre-workout, they get excited for the gym to work out. They're running onto the field, and then they play, and they have a Tyler Booker across from them, and I watch the joy of football leave their eyes, and that's why I love to play football. And I was like, oh my God. And what joy
Oh, that's beautiful.
would fall out of their eyes. And I'm like,
Hey, that's
You got-
beautiful.
Was what was the most striking thing about last night was because to me, I saw this viral picture. I think we put it up. Did we put up the viral picture back in the day of Tony Baselli hiring the Jaguars' new GM, and he looks like Uppies? Like he looks like a child. Like Tony Baselli could put him in a baby Bjorn because he's like 34, and like they get him out on the press conference yesterday, and he's doing the whole he's in his Chris Grier F them pick stage.
Yeah.
Because he came from the Rams, and the Rams, they don't do picks. Like the Rams have thrown their picks willy-nilly into a blender. So they do this move for Travis Hunter, which do you think Travis Hunter likes that move? Like, do you think, like, I know it's Cleveland or Jacksonville, but I kind of feel like Jacksonville is like super irrelevant compared to Cleveland in football scope. Do you think he's happy with that move?
It's hard to say, man.
It's hard to say.
With who makes the decisions and everybody trying to be a company guy, it's really hard to determine the real feelings about this stuff. You know what I mean? So you just kind of,
Yeah.
I think at least there's a direction. Trevor Lawrence has what, 1 or 2 years where it's make it or break it. Like we're done with him if he sucks.
They're going to find somebody else. They'll blame Trevor. They'll blame Travis Hunter for playing two sides. He's too tired to be a receiver.
That's actually great.
That's what they're going to do for Trevor Lawrence. Everybody else's fault, but Trevor Lawrence's. It's like every time. You know, they'll be like, "Hey, Travis, you got to pick a side, man. You got to pick a side. Enough of this two-way nonsense." There's a haul though they gave up for him, first and a second, just to move up 3 spots.
That's how that works, buddy.
Woof.
You know it's crazy.
That's a lot of dough, dude. That's a lot of capital. Crazy. But it was a pretty wild night. The TV's been nonstop about the Shedeur Sanders thing, and honestly, that ruined one big part of last night. We'll get to that coming up next.